My life stolen. They stole my life in a way that felt almost polite. No dramatic heist, no shouting in a parking lot. It began with a notification, the soft chime of my phone while I stood in front of my bedroom mirror, turning with the kind of slow care that felt like worship. I didn't notice the world until the screen lit the room. My name is Noah Reed. I'm 26, an urban planner by day, which sounds dry and respectable, just the kind of thing my parents can tell their friends without causing raised eyebrows. I draft zoning maps, meet with city officials, and present cost estimates to people in suits who like numbers and clean lines. In that world, I'm buttoned up and efficient. I wear the expected shoes. I schedule meetings. I am careful. But at night, when the office lights go off and the city hums a softer tune, I'm someone else. I become a set of breaths and small rituals. I unlock a cedar trunk my aunt left me when she moved away. Inside are garments with a different gravity than my work shirts, silk, satin, laces that slide against my skin like contradictions. There are false lashes that feel like tiny, theatrical flags, and a lipstick the color of bruised cherries that has a power to change my jawline. When I step into those clothes, the geometry of my life bends. My shoulders loosen. My voice thins. I learn to move in ways my old bones weren't taught. For a few hours, I shed the role of Noah the planner and become something softer, something prettier. It's not about performance. It's the only place I can breathe. That secret has rules. The first rule is avoid being seen. The second rule is never leave evidence. The trunk is kept under my bed, the makeup wiped clean, the heels tucked away in a box labeled winter. I've become a meticulous liar, the kind that wears truth like an alibi. I tell myself it's precaution. I tell myself I'm protecting Emma. Emma is the axis of everything I pretend to be. She's my girlfriend of 3 years, sharp-tongued and incandescent. Marketing director by title, secret karaoke queen by habit. She runs the apartment like it's an open-plan agency, color-coded, minimal clutter, perfectly brewed coffee. She loves a man in a blazer and a clean haircut. She loves confidence, blunt conversation, and someone who can sit across from her at a networking event and make strangers feel like they're the only 2 people in the room. I love her for the way she makes the city feel smaller, less hostile, like 2 people can map it together. I love her for how she touches my knuckles when she's thinking. I love her for the way she thinks she knows me. She does not know the closet in my bedroom. She does not know the trunk. Keeping that secret feels noble in a private, ridiculous way. It's my rebellion against expectations, my soft form of privacy, when the rest of my life is so visible. But it's also a ledger of shame, a score I tally in the quiet. I lie about working late. I invent lunches. I email clients from my phone while hiding under a bathrobe and a curl of fake lashes stuck precariously on my lid. I tell myself this is temporary. I tell myself it's harmless. The thing is, my secret has always been a private religion until the night it became a currency. I remember the smell first, bitter coffee and something floral I didn't recognize, like a perfume that didn't belong to me. I'd been experimenting with a teal dress a size too small, the hemline flirting with my knees, when the notification cut through the hush. A new message from an unsaved number. No name. No emoji. Just a thumbnail. My thumb trembled as I opened it. The thumbnail was tiny but enough. My own face, framed in that teal dress. It was one of 100 photos I'd taken for myself, angles I kept only in the gallery labeled private. How did they have it? Why was it in someone else's hands? The message below was shorter than a knife. We know. The room condensed. My heartbeat crawled up my throat like a foreign animal. I scanned the apartment without thinking, the trunk under my bed, the shoes in their shoebox, the neatly folded blazer on the chair. Everything looked ordinary in the daylight of my own lamp, but the ordinary suddenly felt perforated. I did what anyone would do first. I tried to call the number. No answer. I called my own number to double-check my voicemail. Silence. I hit the internet to search for the area code. Nothing. The city outside kept its indifferent hum. Emma was at a drinks event downtown. I had until she came home. Old rules can go out the window in less time than it takes to type a reply. The part of me that panicked tried to compose rational responses. It must be a prank, a mistaken number, a marketer harvesting content. The part of me that was smaller and truer whispered darker possibilities: blackmail, exposure, the loss of everything I'd cobbled together. But beneath all of that was a quieter, more personal terror. Someone had seen me as I was when I loved myself in secret. Someone had reached into the vault. That night, I washed the teal dress until the color ran a little in the sink. I scrubbed the camera roll, hiding images behind folders with the mindless efficiency of someone who has practiced erasure. I locked the trunk and shoved shoe boxes into the closet like a hoarder packing for an apocalypse. Then I sat on the edge of the bed and watched the ceiling until the city dimmed. When Emma finally let herself in, all bright from her late-night networking, she kissed my cheek and said, sleepy and certain, "You look tired. Long day." Her certainty was both mercy and a blade. Long day, I lied. I didn't tell her about the message. I didn't tell her about the tiny photograph that made the world feel less private. Instead, I made coffee, tried to tell a story about a difficult client, laughed when she laughed. Around midnight, she fell asleep with her head against my shoulder, and I held her like a person holding an answer they were not yet ready to share. I told myself, again, that I would handle it tomorrow, that I would trace the number and make it stop, that I would never let anyone strip me of the small life I'd built for myself. But the dark truth, one that felt less like a whisper and more like a stone, sat in my gut. Someone had already stolen a piece of me. And I didn't know how much longer I would get to keep the rest. The morning after the message, I woke to the sound of Emma's hairdryer. It whirred like a jet engine through the bathroom door, a reminder of her efficiency, her brightness. I sat up and checked my phone before I even rubbed my eyes. The unsaved number glared at me from my screen, a silent accusation. No new messages. No follow-ups. Just that one picture, and those two words. "We know." I should have felt relief. Maybe it had been a mistake. Maybe the sender had moved on. But silence is not mercy. It's worse. Silence is the pause before a verdict. I sat at the kitchen table while Emma clipped on earrings, kissed me on the forehead, and dashed out the door, heels clicking against the hardwood. The door shut behind her, and I was left with my coffee cooling in my hands, the sound of the city trickling in from the window, and the hum of my own mind repeating a mantra I couldn't shake. They know, they know, they know. Fear usually makes people retreat, but for me it did the opposite. That afternoon, instead of burying my secret deeper, I unlocked the cedar trunk. My fingers trembled around the small brass key. The lid creaked, releasing the faint scent of cedar and perfume, a private smell, my smell, though it belonged to no one who officially existed. Inside, the teal dress lay folded, the one that had betrayed me. For a moment I hated it, hated the silk and the way it still shimmered under the light. But beneath the hate was hunger. I touched it. My body reacted before my brain could argue. Fear and desire tangled in my veins like lovers who should meet. The fear said, "Don't risk it again." The desire whispered, "What if it's the last time?" I told myself I just wanted to understand what the blackmailer saw, to study the angle, the reflection, to reconstruct the crime. But when I slipped the dress over my head and let the cool fabric glide down my chest, something inside me loosened. The silk kissed my thighs, and I caught my reflection in the mirror. My pulse stuttered. Then came the makeup. Light foundation first, brushing away the tiredness under my eyes. A line of eyeliner, shaky at first, then steady as ritual took over. Cherry lipstick, the same shade as in the photo. I pinned back my hair and adjusted it until my face softened into the version of me that was mine and mine alone. The girl in the mirror was Noah. She wasn't someone Emma knew. She wasn't someone who went to zoning meetings. She was the secret, the answer, the crime. She was proof that I could transform. And in that moment, I understood the danger. Whoever had taken my photo had stolen more than an image. They'd stolen my proof of existence. Every time I slipped back into Noah, the weight of Emma's love pressed harder. She texted me from her office that day. Meeting dragged on. Sushi tonight? My treat. My chest tightened. I typed back something casual. Sounds great, but the guilt was volcanic. She was promising me dinner, laughter, normalcy, while I stood in our bedroom in a dress that would break her heart. Sometimes I fantasized about telling her, about confessing in soft tones. Emma, there's a part of me you don't know, but I want to share it with you. In my head, she'd touch my cheek and say something like, Noah, I love you for all of you. But reality whispered louder. She'd look at me like I'd lied for years. She'd see betrayal, not bravery. The secret grew heavier by the hour. It came 2 nights later. I just changed out of the teal dress, folded it neatly, and slid it back into the trunk when my phone buzzed. Same unsaved number. This time it wasn't a picture. It was a line of text. Pretty girls don't hide. Wear it outside. Tomorrow. My blood iced. The audacity of it, the command. They weren't satisfied with photos. They wanted movement, proof. They wanted me to step into daylight as her. I dropped onto the bed, heart sprinting, mind sprinting faster. If I ignored them, would they retaliate? Would they send the photo to Emma? To my boss? To my family? I imagined my mother's voice on the phone. Noah, what is this? Is this who you are? I imagined Emma scrolling through her inbox at work, clicking on an attachment she never asked for. I texted back before I could stop myself. Who are you? What do you want? The dots appeared, then vanished, then appeared again. My throat went dry. Finally, the reply, I want to see you shine. I wanted to throw the phone across the room. Instead, I locked it and buried my face in my hands. The next morning, I told Emma I had an early meeting. She kissed me on the cheek, trusting, distracted, and rushed out. I stood in front of the mirror again, staring at the teal dress. I shouldn't. I couldn't. But the alternative was worse, exposure, ruin. The zipper rasped up my spine. The hem brushed my thighs. I slid into a pair of stockings, the fabric tightening around my calves, shaping them. Heels next, 3 inches that shifted my balance, made me sway. My reflection changed with each layer. The final step was the wig. Long, dark, straight, it framed my face like parentheses. The girl in the mirror was whole. She was ready, and yet I wasn't. I stood frozen at the door, hand on the knob, sweat prickling my palms. My heart begged me to turn back, to strip it all away and throw the trunk into the river. But fear is a leash, and someone else was holding it now. I opened the door and stepped out. The city swallowed me instantly. Cars roared, footsteps echoed, conversations blurred. I clutched my bag against me and walked quickly, head down, praying no one would look too closely. Every second felt like a gamble. A man brushed past me and muttered, "Sorry, miss." My lungs seized.
He'd said miss.
Another woman glanced at my shoes, then at my face, then away again without a word. The world didn't collapse. The sky didn't fall. I was just another girl in a dress, moving through the city. And for a terrifying, intoxicating moment, I felt free. But freedom has a price. When I reached the crosswalk, my phone buzzed again. The unsaved number. I see you. I whipped my head around, scanning the crowd, searching for a face I recognized.
No one looked at me.
Everyone was just living, rushing, crossing the street. Yet the words pulsed on my phone, a trap I couldn't escape. Someone was watching. That night, Emma noticed. She leaned against the doorway as I poured wine and said, "You've been weird lately." Distant. Her eyes were sharp, not accusing but curious. Dangerous. I forced a laugh. Work's been heavy. She tilted her head, searching my face the way she always did when she knew I was holding something back. Then she sighed, kissed my cheek, and said, "Don't disappear on me, okay?" Her words felt like chains and mercy at once. She was giving me time, but time was the one thing I didn't have. The more they demanded, the more I obeyed. Each text was sharper, more specific. Lipstick tonight. Heels, not flats. Go to the cafe on 3rd. And each time I followed. Not because I wanted to, but because I couldn't bear the thought of Emma opening her inbox and finding the truth laid bare. But here's the dangerous part. With every outing, the fear dulled and the thrill sharpened. being called Miss in passing, feeling the sway of my hips in a crowded place. The way my reflection caught in a shop window, and I didn't recognize Noah anymore. For the first time, I wasn't just hiding a secret. I was living it. And maybe, just maybe, that was what they wanted. The apartment was quiet, too quiet. For most people, a still, silent home would be comforting. For me, silence was both sanctuary and curse. It was during these moments, when Emma was out with friends, when the city's noise hummed faintly through the walls, that my other self stirred awake. I had locked the front door 3 times, checked the windows, and pulled the curtain shut. It was a ritual, one I couldn't escape. Every detail had to be controlled. Every precaution mattered. Because once I let go, once I gave myself permission, the risk of being caught became terrifyingly real. My hands shook slightly as I opened the drawer under the bed. Inside, tucked beneath a pile of old sweaters, lay my secret. The clothes I had collected slowly, carefully, in moments of guilt and reckless longing. A soft lilac blouse Emma had once thrown out. A pleated skirt that had belonged to her cousin before ending up in a donation box. A pair of black tights folded neatly, waiting. And then, at the bottom, my prized possession, a pair of nude high heels. They weren't even mine, technically. Emma had bought them for herself months ago, but rarely wore them, complaining they pinched her toes. The first time I had tried them on, I almost couldn't breathe. I touched the heel now, lightly, like it was both fragile and dangerous. Not today, I whispered to myself. But I knew I was lying. The struggle inside me was relentless. Every time I dressed, I promised myself it was the last. That I would throw everything away, bury it, burn it if I had to. But the promises dissolved the moment I felt fabric against my skin, makeup on my face. It wasn't just dressing, it was becoming. And becoming was addictive. I slipped off my jeans, the ordinary skin of my daily life, and pulled the tights up slowly, savoring the way they clung to my legs. My breath caught as I smoothed them out, running my hands down to my ankles. Already, I could feel myself shifting. The skirt came next, pleats falling perfectly against the curve of my hips. The blouse was soft, feminine, smelling faintly of lavender detergent. With each layer, my reflection in the mirror shifted. The man who worked long hours at the office, who nodded politely in meetings, who laughed at Emma's friends' jokes, was fading. I reached for the small makeup pouch hidden behind my textbooks on the shelf. Powder, eyeliner, lipstick. I wasn't perfect, not even close, but I had learned tricks. Just enough to blur the edges of who I was and who I wanted to be. My hand trembled as I traced a line of eyeliner, steadying myself with long breaths. When I finally looked up, she was there. Not perfect, not flawless, but undeniably her. A softer version of me. A stolen version of Emma, perhaps. My heart pounded as I adjusted the wig, a shoulder-length brunette cut I had ordered online under a fake name. The moment it settled, framing my face, the illusion became dangerously real. And then came the heels. I slid my feet into them, struggling a little as always, but once I stood, the shift was complete. The heels forced me into a new posture, a new walk. Vulnerable, yes, but powerful too. I wasn't just dressing up. I was stepping into someone else's skin. The thrill was intoxicating. I twirled once in front of the mirror, laughing softly, almost forgetting myself. The sound was high-pitched, unfamiliar, but it made my chest swell. Then the fear rushed back. What if Emma came home early? What if she saw me like this? I froze, listening. Silence. Only the faint ticking of the clock. My phone buzzed on the nightstand. I lunged for it, nearly stumbling in the heels. It was a message from Emma. Hey babe, running late. Dinner with the girls took longer than expected. Home in about 2 hours. Don't wait up for me. Relief flooded me, but so did dread. 2 hours. That was all. I looked back at the mirror, at her. Could I really take it off now? After coming this far? Instead of stripping away the layers, I leaned in closer, tilting my head, testing poses. The thrill was stronger than the fear, at least for the moment. I felt alive, electric, every nerve sparking. I wandered through the apartment, careful, heels clicking softly against the floorboards. Every room felt different in the skin. The kitchen, where Emma and I usually cooked together, was now a stage. The living room became a runway. I even dared to open the balcony door slightly, peering out into the night. The city lights glittered, and for a reckless moment, I imagined stepping outside, walking the streets as her. Nobody would know. Nobody would guess. Or would they? I backed away quickly, heart hammering. Too much risk. Too much exposure. I sat down instead, curling into the couch, running my hands over the fabric of the skirt. I felt delicate, fragile, but also strangely at peace. And yet, the peace never lasted. Every creak of the building, every passing car, every shadow against the curtains jolted me. The line between thrill and terror blurred. And then it happened. 3 knocks at the door. My blood turned cold. I froze, unable to breathe. Who could it be? Emma? No, she would use her keys. A neighbor? A delivery mistake? I didn't move, didn't answer. The knocks came again, louder this time. My reflection stared back at me from the darkened TV screen, mocking, daring. Should I answer? Hide? Strip everything off before it was too late? My hand trembled as I reached for the wig, ready to rip it off. But then a voice called softly from the other side of the door. Hello? Sorry to bother you. I think I got the wrong apartment. My knees nearly gave out in relief. I stayed frozen until footsteps retreated down the hall. Only then did I collapse back against the couch, shaking, heart racing like I'd run a marathon. The fear should have driven me to change back. It should have been enough. But instead, it deepened the thrill. I wanted more. I stood again, returning to the mirror, meeting her eyes. This is me, I whispered, though whether it was confession or curse, I couldn't tell. And yet, beneath the rush of adrenaline, a darker fear crept in. What if Emma already suspected? What if she was waiting for me to slip? I shivered, hugging myself, the skirt rustling softly. My life was splitting into 2 halves, one she could see and one she never could. But secrets have a way of bleeding through cracks. And tonight, for the first time, I felt those cracks widening. The apartment seemed to hum with tension. After the knock at the door, I couldn't calm down. My chest rose and fell too quickly, every breath shallow, every sound amplified. Yet still I lingered in the skin I had stitched together out of silk, makeup, and lies. I told myself I should strip it all away, stuff the skirt back into the drawer, scrub off the lipstick, and bury her until the next stolen night. But the thought of erasing her now felt unbearable. She was too alive, too real. I couldn't silence her so easily. The clock ticked past 10. Emma would be home in an hour. I sat in front of the mirror again, lipstick tube trembling in my hand. My reflection stared back at me, expectant. I pressed the color against my lips, deep red this time, and my pulse raced as the transformation sharpened. Beautiful, I whispered to my reflection. Then louder, as if daring the walls to listen. I'm beautiful. But the thrill collapsed into panic when I heard keys jingling outside the door.
No.
She wasn't supposed to be back yet. I shot to my feet, heels wobbling as the lock clicked. The sound was final, inescapable. Babe, you awake? Emma's voice called, casual, warm. I froze, every muscle locking tight. She was home.
Too early.
I scrambled, yanking at the wig, tossing it into the drawer. The skirt snagged on the tights as I tried to tear it off. My heart thundered like it might crack my ribs. The door opened. Emma stepped in, setting her purse down. God, I'm exhausted. The girls wouldn't stop gossiping. I yanked the blouse halfway over my head, fumbling with buttons, my fingers useless with panic. Her footsteps padded down the hall. Closer, closer. I ducked into the bedroom just as she rounded the corner. My chest heaved. Maybe if I stayed quiet. But Emma had lived with me long enough to sense when something was off. Hello? Why are the lights on? She pushed open the bedroom door. And there I was, half in, half out. The blouse still clinging to my arms, tights stretched across my legs, lipstick glaring under the lamplight. Her eyes widened, confusion slicing across her face, followed by shock. For a moment, neither of us spoke. The silence roared louder than any words. "Daniel," she said finally, her voice thin. What are you doing?" My throat tightened. Words failed me. I wanted to laugh it off, call it a prank, a mistake. But the evidence was everywhere. The wig peeking from the drawer, the heels by the bed, the smear of red on my lips. I shook my head, tears stinging my eyes. I can explain." "Explain?" Her voice cracked. "You're dressed like—" She trailed off, stepping back, as though the sight of me burned. "It's not what it looks like," I whispered, though it was exactly what it looked like. Emma's gaze darted everywhere. The clothes, my trembling hands, my face. Anger battled confusion in her expression. How long? How long has this been going on?" I swallowed hard. "A while." She pressed her hands to her temples, pacing. "My God. I thought something was wrong. The late nights, the way you've been distant. I never imagined this." Her words cut deeper than shouting ever could. "Emma, please," I begged, stepping forward, my heels clicking against the floor, betraying me further. It's something I do when I'm alone. It doesn't change how I feel about you." But even as I said it, I wondered if it was true. Her eyes softened for a flicker of a second, then hardened again. "You lied to me. All this time, you've been lying." "I was scared," I whispered. "Scared you'd leave me. Scared you'd hate me." Emma's silence was worse than anger. She just stared, searching me like I was someone she didn't recognize. And maybe I wasn't. The air was thick with everything unsaid. Then her phone buzzed, startling both of us. She looked down, then back at me, her jaw tight. "I need to think," she said. I can't deal with this right now." She grabbed her coat and bag, heading toward the door. "Emma, wait," I cried, stumbling after her, the skirt tangling around my legs. She paused at the threshold, back turned. For a moment, I thought she might stay. But she shook her head, whispered, "I don't even know who you are anymore," and slammed the door behind her. The sound echoed through the apartment, final and devastating. I collapsed against the wall, sliding down until the cold floor met me. Tears smeared the makeup on my cheeks, red lipstick staining my hand as I wiped at my mouth. She was gone. And in the silence she left behind, the truth hit me with brutal clarity. She wasn't just shocked. She looked betrayed. As if my secret hadn't only stolen her trust, but stolen me from her entirely. I looked at the mirror across the room, at the smudged, broken version of her staring back. "My life," I whispered. "My life is gone." But somewhere deep inside, another voice whispered back. Or maybe it was never yours to begin with. The apartment was a graveyard of silence after Emma's departure. The only sound was my uneven breathing, broken by quiet sobs I couldn't hold back. I sat on the floor for what felt like hours, still half in her clothes, makeup smeared, tights clinging to my trembling legs. My reflection in the mirror looked like a ghost, half Daniel, half someone else entirely. I whispered to the reflection, "Who are you? Who did you just ruin everything for?" But the mirror, as always, offered no answers. I forced myself to stand, every muscle aching from the tension. My phone buzzed on the nightstand. A message. My heart leapt. "Emma?" But no. It was from an unknown number. "I know your secret." The words burned into my mind. I froze, staring at the screen, my heart skipping a beat. Who was this? How could they know? Before I could even process, another message arrived. "If you don't want Emma and everyone else to find out, you'll do exactly what I say." A chill swept down my spine. My throat went dry. This wasn't just about Emma anymore. Someone else knew. I typed back with trembling fingers. "Who is this? What do you want?" The reply came instantly. "Tomorrow. At noon. Wear the dress again. Be ready." I dropped the phone, my mind spinning. The dress lay in a heap on the bed, shimmering like a trap. I picked it up, fingers brushing the fabric. Part of me felt the old thrill, the forbidden rush. But now it was poisoned, tangled with fear. Whoever was behind the message had stolen the little control I had left. I thought of Emma's face, her broken voice. I don't even know who you are anymore. Now, someone else had the power to decide who I was, and what would happen to me. I sat in the dark, clutching the dress to my chest, caught between terror and a strange, dangerous anticipation. The phone buzzed again. One last message. This is just the beginning. The screen went black, and I knew, with absolute certainty, that my life wasn't just shaken, it was no longer mine at all.